Now, I'm sure the idea and concept of sandbagging has been in Formula 1 for many years, but it has only really come part of our normal vocabulary since the start of the turbo hybrid era, when Mercedes specifically would hold back an awful lot of their pace in testing and then unleash it at round number 1. Now, what I want to find out in this video is which team really has been the most sandbaggery, and conversely, which team has overperformed in testing. So since the hybrid era began, which team has been the most sandbaggery? Now, we have to actually start our story in 2015. We simply have to do this because 2014's pre-season test took place at Jerez that was not part of the official 2014 calendar, so we're going to only be looking at the tests that used the same circuit that appeared on the F1 calendar. So on screen are the 2015 fastest test times across the Barcelona testing week. And then in this table here is the 2015 Spanish Grand Prix qualifying. What we can then do for each driver, we can work out their positional difference from testing to qualifying, and then their time loss or their time gain from testing to qualifying. And we can see that every single team actually lost time, so they went significantly quicker in the test than they did in qualifying. Then taking a look at the median test time compared to the median qualifying times, testing was actually 2.5 seconds quicker than qualifying. With the overall most sandbaggery team actually going towards Red Bull, they moved forward from the test a total of 11 positions. Toro Rosso moved forward 8, McLaren and Lotus 4, Ferrari 1, Mercedes 0, they stayed exactly where they were in the test, Williams lost 6, Force India 8, and Sauber 14. With Red Bull actually losing the least amount of time between testing and qualifying, just 1.4 seconds. With a total positions moved forward of the grid of 32, this is going to be the total sandbaggery for 2015. With a total time difference between the test and qualifying of 2.5 seconds. And if I was to just briefly plot on the fastest test times here in blue compared to the fastest qualifying times here in orange, we can see the distinct difference between the actual times. But from 2015, we will now take a look at the next year, 2016, in which it was Ferrari's turn to top the testing timing sheets. But taking a look at the overall qualifying lap times, it was Mercedes who took a 1-2 followed by Red Bull. Then calculating the position differences for each driver, and then also the time deltas between testing and qualifying, we end up with a table that looks like this. The overall median qualifying time was a 1:24 flat, where testing was just 4.5 tenths quicker than that at a 1:23.6. With the award for the most sandbaggery team actually going to Haas, moving forward a total of 11 places and holding back 7 tenths from testing to qualifying. It's Mercedes who move forward 10 places and are in second place, holding back 1.2 seconds in pace from testing to qualifying. Red Bull also moved forward 10 places and held back just over half a second. However, surprisingly, Williams, they lost out massively in the test. They went backwards 12 places and lost out 1 second, so they overperformed in the test to qualifying. With a total sandbaggery for the year of 40 positions moved forward and 7.5 tenths gained. Then again, plotting on the fastest times here for the test in blue, and then the fastest times for qualifying in orange, we can see that they were very similar, but with slightly different gradients. Then from 2016, we can take a look at 2017, another year dominated by the two Ferraris with a significant rule change. However, by the time we get to qualifying, it's Mercedes who are once again on top, but only by half a tenth to Sebastian Vettel. Working out each driver's positional difference and time delta between the test and qualifying, we end up with this table here, and then working out the median difference, we have testing being 1.1 seconds faster than the median qualifying time. Then totaling up all of the sandbaggery for each of the teams, it is McLaren in 2017 who were the most sandbaggery in terms of positions moving forward. However, they did end up losing 2 tenths from the test to qualifying. Whereas a team like Sauber in second moved forward a total of 8 spaces from the test to qualifying and actually held back 3 tenths. Then everybody else bar Mercedes and Sauber actually lost time from the test to qualifying, with a total sandbaggery value of the positions moved forward for 2017 of 35 positions and an overall pace delta of 3.5 tenths. Then once again, plotting on the testing times here in blue and the qualifying times here in orange, we can see that again, like 2015, they follow similar gradients, but there is a small separation in the time deltas. Then from 2017 we can take a look at 2018, and for the third year in a row it's the two Ferraris who dominate the test. But once again, by the time we get to qualifying, it's the Mercedes who come out on top. And again, calculating the differences here, we see that Mercedes hold back an enormous amount of pace, where the median qualifying time was a 1:17.8, and this time the test was actually slower by almost 8 tenths. So 2018 was where we actually started to see more sandbagging, where the award for the team that sandbagged the most goes to Mercedes. They moved forward a total of 15 positions from the test to qualifying and held back 2.3 seconds. Red Bull were very significant in the sandbagging as well, moving forward a total of 12 positions and 2.1 seconds were held back, where it was their sister team Toro Rosso who really overperformed in the test, losing 12 positions and a 10th overall. Where again, plotting on the total testing times here in blue and this time the qualifying times in orange, we can see a distinct difference in the overall field spread and the gradient of the two time sets. Then from 2018 we can take a look at 2019, where surprisingly it's the Renault of Nico Hülkenberg who tops the test quite convincingly from the two Toro Rossos and an Alfa Romeo. But by the time we get to qualifying, it is again the two Mercedes that find themselves on top. Then calculating the positional difference and time deltas and the overall median times, we again find that there is more sandbagging in 2019, a total difference of 1 second in qualifying's favour, with the award for the most sandbaggery team going to Red Bull, moving forward a total of 21 positions from the test to qualifying and holding back a total of 2.2 seconds, which is much more significant than Mercedes, who moved forward a total of 10 places and 2.2 seconds. Whereas Haas fit nicely in between that, 12 places moved forward from the test to qualifying and then holding back 1.7 seconds. For a total sandbaggery of 2019 of 55 positions moving forward and an average of 1.5 seconds being held back. So it was really since the start of the 2017 regulations that we actually began to see a lot of sandbagging, where teams would actually hold back a significant amount of pace from the test to qualifying. And again, plotting on the differences of the test times here in blue to the qualifying times here in orange, we can now see significantly that the qualifying times are quicker. Then from 2019 we can take a look at the 2020 test, and this is finally topped again by the two Mercedes. After a 4-year hiatus of topping the testing sheets, Mercedes take their turn once again, and unsurprisingly, it's Mercedes who are on top in qualifying. So working out the time delta and positions moved forward or backward, we can see that Mercedes are actually even. They showed their full pace in the test. Then calculating the difference in the median qualifying and testing lap times, there is just half a second difference, but once again in qualifying's favour, with the award for the most sandbaggery team of 2020 going to McLaren. They moved forward a total of 16 positions from the test and held back just under 1.1 seconds, in a similar manner to Red Bull and Ferrari, who both moved forward 13 and 10 places respectively, and again just under 1.1 seconds held back. Whereas Mercedes this year actually find themselves in the middle of the table. 0 positions moved forward, they didn't lose or gain any, but a total of half a second was held back. However, it is Alfa Romeo who very much overperformed in the test. They lost 23 positions from the test to qualifying and actually overperformed by 7.5 tenths, with the total sandbaggery value moving forward 47 positions and an average time held back of 7 tenths. where once again we find that the test times here in blue versus the qualifying times here in orange are very slightly different in qualifying's favour. Then penultimately we will take a look at 2021, which this time it is topped by the Red Bull of Max Verstappen, the AlphaTauri of Yuki Tsunoda, and the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz. But by the time we get to qualifying of 2021, once again we see the Mercedes leaping up in the leaderboards, but it is Verstappen who tops the timing sheets. So working out the overall position differences and time deltas, we end up with a table that looks like this, with the median qualifying time actually being slower. So once again, reverting back to 2015 and 16, we have a test time being quicker than qualifying. So there was comparatively less sandbagging in 2021 than there was in the previous 3 years, with the team that sandbagged the most in 2021 going to Mercedes, moving forward a total of 9 positions and holding back just 6/10. Then it goes to McLaren, moving forward a total of 8 positions and holding back 4/10. However, it was Williams who were the least sandbaggery. They overperformed significantly in the test, losing 8 positions from the test to qualifying and a total of 7/10, with a total sandbaggery value of 41 positions moved forward and 6/10 held back. Where again, much like 2020, if we plot on the test times here in blue and the qualifying times here in orange, they're very, very similar. And then finally, we can take a look at the 2022 test at Bahrain, where once again it was topped by Max Verstappen in the Red Bull for the 2nd year in a row. But by the time we get to the 2022 Bahrain qualifying, it's the 2 Ferraris that find themselves slightly further up the leaderboard, and the 2 Red Bulls having slipped down a little bit. Then again, calculating the position differences and time deltas, and then the medians, we end up with qualifying this time being much, much quicker than the test. So there was a significant amount of sandbagging in 2022, which is a given, being a brand new set of regulations. And so the award for the team that sandbagged the most in 2022 goes to Ferrari, moving forward a total of 10 positions and holding back a whopping 2.3 seconds. Then it's Mercedes who moved forward a total of 7 positions and held back 1.7 seconds. Whereas unfortunately a team like Haas actually lost 7 positions from the test to qualifying, but they still held back 8/10, with a total sandbaggery value of 2022 of 43 positions moved forward and a whopping 1.4 seconds held back, with the graph visualising the test times here in blue and the qualifying times here in orange looking a bit like this. So it's quite clear to see from the position changes and the delta gaps between the testing performance and the qualifying performance that it isn't always Mercedes that actually top these tables. But if I just briefly summarise the positions moved forward values across the 8 years, we can see that it's mostly Red Bull that actually appear in the top positions of this sandbaggery table, with Mercedes, Ferrari and McLaren, and occasionally Haas, actually popping up here too. But if I just total up each of the positions moved forward for all of the teams and calculate an average for the years that they have entered, Red Bull actually come out significantly on top, with a total of 71 positions moved forward over 8 years, which is an average of 9. Then it is Mercedes in second with 54 positions, which is an average of 7. Where unfortunately it is Alfa Romeo and the Alpine team who lost 58 and 49 positions respectively, which is an average of -7 and -6. With 2019 actually being the most sandbaggery in terms of positions moved forward for each of the teams, set at 55, followed by 2020. Now if you'd prefer something a bit more visual, I have a graph representing the team's yearly positional difference from testing to qualifying. So we can plot on Red Bull's positional difference on each of the years, and we can see it is nice and high, peaking at 21 positions in 2019. Then we can plot on Mercedes, who actually matched them for 2015, 16 and 17, but then it starts to come down from 2019. Then in third it was McLaren, followed by Haas, Ferrari, Aston Martin, Williams, AlphaTauri, Alpine, and then finally Alfa Romeo. Now Alfa Romeo actually had a good 2017, moving forward the second highest number of positions from the test to qualifying. It's just in 2019, 2020, 2021 and even 2022 they didn't perform very well at all. But now doing exactly the same summary for the time delta, we can see it's Ferrari and more occasionally Mercedes that actually pop up at the top of this leaderboard, unlike Red Bull. And once again, totaling each team's time delta and then averaging it across the 8 years or 7 years if you are Haas, we end up with a table that looks a bit like this. So Mercedes across the 8 years held back a total of 6.7 seconds, which is an average of 8.5 tenths per year from the test to qualifying. With Red Bull once again coming in second, averaging out at holding back 7 tenths per year. Then it is interestingly Haas who actually beat out Ferrari, holding back 4.5 tenths to Ferrari's 3. But once again, we have Alpine and Alfa Romeo at the bottom of this table, overperforming in the test by 4.5 tenths for Alpine and close to 6 tenths for Alfa Romeo. And once again, we have 2019 appearing at the top of the sandbaggery tables, moving forward across the whole grid 1.5 seconds from the test to qualifying. And then once again, just to end off this video, I've got a visual representation of the team's yearly delta between testing and qualifying. So we can plot on Mercedes, which has a really high 2015, as everybody underperformed in that test. We can then plot on Red Bull, who follows a very similar trend. Then third was Haas, then Ferrari, McLaren, Aston Martin, Williams, AlphaTauri, Alpine, and then finally Alfa Romeo. So it is sort of a reverse of the graph that we saw for the total positions. So there is my breakdown of the teams which have sandbagged the most since the start of the turbo hybrid era. It is Mercedes who physically hold back the most time at just over 8.5 tenths, but it is Red Bull who move forward the most positions from the test to qualifying. And then unfortunately on the flip scale of this, it is Alfa Romeo who overperform in the tests far too much, along with Alpine, which was Renault in all of their years from 2020 backwards. Now, if you have enjoyed this video or any others that you find on my YouTube channel, there is the option to support me financially in my content creation career. You could opt to become a member of my YouTube channel, in which you could gain access to exclusive badges or emojis that you can use in the comments down below. Or if you'd like to gain access to these videos early before they release here on YouTube, then you could subscribe to my Patreon to gain access to those. Or if a subscription option is not for you, there is a PayPal donation link in the description below. Any form of financial support will receive a shout out at the end of the video from myself as a form of thanks, and a big thank you still goes to Elliot Crosson for their continued support over on Patreon. But that is all I've got for you today, guys. I hope you have enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next video with whatever and whenever I decide to make it. I'll see you guys then.